Meeting's live.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular board meeting for April 14th, 2021. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize this meeting is taking place on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish people. And with that, we will get underway. Ms. Legault, before we move on to approving the agenda, are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a staff report from Economic Development that will add as NB1, but should be considered before item CR2, which as it relates to an item that's coming from the Regional Services Committee recommendations.
Thank you. So we'll insert that there. Anything else?
I believe there was a report from the chairperson.
Yep, thank you. I will add those two items and ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Director Kuhn, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is the adoption of the regular board meeting minutes of March 24th.
Thank you. If there's no errors or omissions, a motion to adopt the minutes. Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Toporowski. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
No business arising from the minutes, so that brings us to public input period. We did have one request and invitation sent, however, the individual has not joined the meeting.
Okay. So if we have no people in the lobby for public input, I believe that means we move on. On to the next item, Ms. Legault.
No delegation, so that brings us to report of the chair.
Thank you. Some time ago, UBCM, not long enough ago, and I'll be asking possibly some of our staff and other the mayors possibly to weigh in on this. There was the UBCM funding for some of the social services and homelessness funding that is available. The deadline is this Friday. There was some discussion of bringing forward an opportunity for the CVRD to apply on behalf of the region. Fast forward to today, and we're not quite there yet. I understand that staff has found that there is an extension available, but there was also discussion that maybe a member municipality could take up the task of applying on for the benefit of all of the partners in the region to make this application and get this grant application in. I would ask, got Mr. Carruthers here, if you maybe want to add a little bit more detail, and then I'll go to Director Sebring.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So 2 weeks ago, we were preparing to bring a report forward to the board to this meeting with respect to support for this application. The CBRD would be the flow through. We would apply on behalf of the Cowichan Housing Association. There were some complications around third-party sub-consulting or subcontracting and the CHA's capacity to take this on. So at that time, the CHA kind of put the brakes on the process. We have found out recently, early this week, that the CHA board has found a different operating model and is prepared to take the application forward. The concern that I have, obviously, is our organization and our ability. We've got a number of grants that we've applied for. These grants have a huge impact on our finance department. I think, as any of you can appreciate, the money is free and it's coming our way, but there's a lot of administration and work involved in managing it. So we have some concerns about the CVRD being the flow through on this particular project. It's potentially a $2.5 million project. So we had a conversation earlier in the week, and we asked UBCM for an extension, which they've granted to us to the 30th of April. There's still more work that has to be done on the application to have staff comfortable to bring it forward to the board with some confidence. We appreciate the importance of this project and the issues that the communities are facing around homelessness and the vulnerable population. As you're aware, we have a significant challenge right now with the CVRD and our current administration building being out of order for at least 4 months. We've also short of staff in our finance department, so it's really situation critical. And so I'm a little bit concerned about the CVRD taking on this role and just adding yet another project to our list that isn't in our core services that we provide. So that's the detail that I can provide at this time.
Okay, go ahead, Director Sebring.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Carruthers, for that fulsome description. We all, or some of us mayors at least, received an email from Mr. Carruthers yesterday with regard to this, and I right away reached out to my CAO to see whether North Cowichan would have the capacity to step up and do the grant application in behalf of the CHA. The answer was not no. The answer was we would certainly look at it. Of course, it would have to be subject to council approval. And I have asked that this issue be put on our council agenda for next week, assuming that UBCM grants the extension. Now, I've just heard somebody, I think Chair Stone, say that there is a possibility of an extension to the deadline. If there's no possibility of an extension, there's really no point in putting this on our council agenda. But if we're hearing that UBCM might not be averse to that, there's a possibility that North Cowichan could take it on. I'm not committing. It's up to council. It's up to staff. I mean, we'll see what the recommendations are, but we're certainly alive to it, and it's something that we'd be willing to look at. So, can anybody give me a definitive on the extension piece?
Yes, I can. We've been granted an extension to April 30th.
To April 30th. Okay, thank you very much. On the basis of that, then I will get back to my CAO and try to get this on our council agenda for next week.
So I think in light of that, and I've got Director Staples next. I'm having bandwidth issues here, so I apologize if I break up or I'm delayed. On the basis of that, I think I would ask the board if they would consider supporting a letter of support from the CVRD board in favor of whatever municipality may choose to move this application forward. I know that because I think most of our municipal partners will take this to our staff and councils and would be in support of whatever local government decides to take this issue forward. Our council has already given permission to provide a letter of support to the CVRD, but if that changes to North Cowichan, I'm confident that our council would support that letter of support going there. So as we conclude this discussion, I may ask the board to support a letter of support in favor of whichever local government ends up being the lead on this application. I've got Director Staples.
Yeah, thank you
Director Staples.
for that. So the letter of support from the board would be fantastic to go down that route. I too reached out to our CAO and talked about it, and just have confidence between all of us. We will figure something out and continue this discussion. So if that support can be there from the board to move that forward, and then it gives us a bit of time to sort out who the application flows through. So thanks everyone for your work on this and through a lot of unforeseen circumstances.
Thank you. Director Marsh.
It sounds like what Director Staples just said is answering the question I was going to ask, which is, I'm assuming that each of the mayors or representatives of the municipalities will stay in touch, or their staff will stay in touch, so that we make sure that somebody can do it, or maybe a couple of people will work on it from two different municipalities. That's always a possibility too. So
yeah, and I do have a meeting this on my agenda for tomorrow morning with our CAO as well. I think I have Director McGonigal next.
Thank you, Chair Stone. Unfortunately, as Brian had stated on capacity, the town of Lake Cowichan would not have the capacity moving forward to be the lead grant, but we would most certainly support whichever municipality was to put their name forward as the lead on this. And I would be happy to amend the letter of support that we provided on this application for that very entity moving forward.
Thank you very much. Did I miss anybody on my list? Mr. Carruthers, just so I don't get any wording wrong on a motion I may want to introduce, can we get the name, or does anybody have it handy, of this grant program, what the name of it is? I'm sorry, I should have had it ready, but I don't.
Yeah, strengthening, it's the UBCM COVID-19 Strengthening Communities Program. I see Angie's got that.
Sorry, Brian, Strengthening Community Services Fund.
Thank you, John.
Cheers.
Sorry, my apologies. Sorry, I just lost everyone there. That's why I've turned my video off. So hopefully I'm there. I did hear between Brian and John the name come up. I'll go to Director Acton before I attempt to introduce a motion. Director Acton.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I actually had to, my son's quite sick. So I missed a little bit of the beginning of this. So I'm wondering where do the electoral areas sit in this if we're talking about more grant money when there hasn't been any opportunity for electoral areas to have any kind of resilient support or COVID rebuilding. So what would this, sorry?
Sorry, all of the local governments who've been involved in the homeless response have been continuing to collaborate on these issues. I can't speak to, this is a homelessness and vulnerable populations grant stream. I believe most of the municipal partners have been sort of carrying that ball through this process. Just as a side note, I will remark that there was an announcement today about the additional 1.5 million that was just granted as COVID recovery funds to the regional district from the province on additional to the previous funding that was announced. And we continue to advocate for more funding, but on this specific issue, this is a vulnerable populations response fund. And all of the main folks that have been dealing with this issue throughout the duration of COVID collaborated on the budget and the needs for the main vulnerable populations response, and that's where this package has come from. Mr. Horn could probably speak maybe a little more eloquently to the specifics of that. Mr. Horn, I believe you're muted, or I can't hear you.
Thank you, through the chair, to the members. Yeah, the application is for a regional approach to addressing the issues, and that's why Lake Cowichan and Ladysmith, and certainly the city center probably draws from the electoral areas in terms of the homeless population. So the goal is to serve the entire region and really to address the remaining people who are unhoused in the community, who have not yet taken up occupancy in some of the temporary housing projects we currently run. So it's really to pick up everybody else who is homeless still in the community. And that's meant to cover the entire region from one end to the other, whether it be in the west or the south or the north. So hopefully we'll address those needs for the members of the regional districts as well, the electoral areas as well.
And just as a small additional note, there was some gaps in some of the existing things that I think that we're providing, and those were addressed through this application as well, where we identified that there were service gaps or provisions that were unable to be provided.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question? Thank you. So sorry, because it got cut out. Oh, Director Marsh?
I just wondered, Mr. Chair, through you to whoever knows, maybe it might even be you. This, I don't imagine, is for bricks and mortar. This is for probably rental and that kind of thing. Is that right, Mr. Horn?
Go ahead.
The proposal is both for services, and that would be Ladysmith focused services. Lake Cowichan, the proposal includes services as well as additional cabins, similar to the ones that we're currently providing at the
Right.
mound with Couch. So it's really an expansion of that program, both in Lake Cowichan and in a further expansion in the center area, in the Duncan area. So that'll be the bulk of the money would be additional, sleeping accommodation, temporary accommodation, let's call it, for the unhoused population, largely in the city center, but Lake Cowichan plus services in Ladysmith.
Thank you. So it's not going to take a long time to provide the units.
No, a very short turnaround is the idea. It's a 1-year project, by the way. That's the funding. So it is in that nature temporary, and that's the goal, is to put up quick and temporary housing as we've done in the past and continue that for the full year of funding that they've provided in this application.
Well, that's great. I'll keep my fingers crossed and light a candle.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, again, Mr. Horn, I missed the name of the program because of my bandwidth issues. So if you can just say that out again, I'd be prepared to make a motion for the board to consider.
Certainly, and thank you. It's the UBCM Strengthening Communities Services Fund.
So the motion I would make that the board provide a letter of support to the lead municipality applying for the UBCM Strengthening Communities. Sorry, Mr. Horn, I didn't write it down fast enough. The last part of Strengthening Communities
Services, Strengthening Communities Services.
Services application.
Yes.
And I would move that. Seconded by Director Salmon. Any further discussion? Director Staples.
Quick thing to add that there's also support services that are part of that application as well. I just wanted to put that in there.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. I appreciate the support for something that was a very, very late item for all of us today. Ms. Legault. Thank you, Mr. Horn, and staff and everyone who's been contributing to this work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to committee and commission reports. Item CR1 is the report and recommendations of the Kerry Park Recreation Commission meeting of March 23rd, 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Legault. There's just some amendments there. That's to reflect the grant that was received, I believe. Thank you. And do we have a mover and a seconder for that recommendation? Moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Wilson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault, this I believe will bring in Mr. O'Riordan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report from the Economic Development Division is for information, but it does relate to item 3 of CR2. So if anyone has any questions on the report to Mr. O'Riordan.
Thank you. And that was distributed by email prior to the meeting. I believe it was yesterday, just for consideration. The long and the short of it was initially imagined as an 18-month program with a part-time position. And because the funding was only allowed to be for up to 1 year, they condensed the project down to 1 year and increased the hours allocation. So same project, same funding amounts, condensed into 1 year instead of 18 months. Is there any questions for Mr. O'Riordan?
I'll move it.
It's just for information. We'll actually have to change the rec. Yeah, so it's just, I believe the resolution, Ms. Legault. Sorry?
Sorry, talking out loud. We'll move it in CR3.
Yeah. CR3, yeah.
Or
CR2. So Mr. O'Riordan, thank you for coming. Sorry we didn't have any questions. You did such a great job on your report. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so just further to your comment that the committee recommendation doesn't need to be changed. It was just because of the discussion in the report that we wanted to make sure the board had a full understanding of what was going to be coming forward. So CR2 is the report and recommendations of the Regional Services Committee meeting of March 24th.
Director Salmon. Sorry, Ms. Director McGonigal.
I have to recuse myself from one of the topics on the CBRD Housing Trust Fund, number 5. So if we could pull that.
Thank you.
It's number 4.
So, Director Smith?
Yes, I'd like to pull number 3.
Okay, thank you. So we have 6 recommendations. This is the report from the Regional Service Committee meeting of March 24th, 2021. Just Looking at a list here, I think we actually have a numbering issue there. We have two number 3s. So Director Smith wants to pull the first one, right? The Nanaimo. Okay. Any others to be pulled? Director.
And Director McGonigal was, sorry, that was the number 4, the Housing Trust Fund one.
Okay. So maybe
So he can, so we can pull that and then deal with the rest of them and then come back to the pulled ones and we can kick Mr. McGonigal out. Sorry, Ms. Legault.
Mr. Chair, I just see that there's a bit of a typo on the agenda cover page. So if you look to the actual attachment in Prime Gov for the recommendations, the report of the Regional Services Committee meeting, there's actually 7 recommendations coming forward. So to refer to that attachment as opposed to the cover sheet of the agenda in this item.
Okay. So it's actually number 2 that Director Smith wants pulled, and, or is it, or I guess it would be 2 and 3, Director Smith?
It's the one, I believe, that's number 2 to do with the airport.
Yeah, both 2 and 3 are to do with the airport.
Were they? Okay, then I would like to pull both 2 and 3. Thank you for checking that.
And number 5 for Director McGonigal is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So both of those items will be pulled, and I'll give the floor back to you, Director Salmon.
Thank you. So I'd like to move items as a group. Items 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7. Please, if someone could move those. Director Wilson, second by Director Marsh. All in favor?
Sorry, hold on a second. Director Smith, that does actually work because we can pull. Number 2 is just asking staff to prepare a report. Number 3 is on the engagement strategies, so we can discuss it under number 3. We still want staff to prepare a report. Okay, so go ahead, Director Salmon.
Are we changing that list I just said? Are we?
No, you're good.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Director
And
Stone,
then we'll.
Stone.
I think that means we're going back to number 3, which is the staff work with Regional District of Nanaimo on further engagement with affected communities within CVRD, and that the regional growth strategy amendment be referred to the next Regional Services Committee meeting. Director Smith, you wanted that pulled, so please go ahead.
Yes, I understand that the RDN is holding a public hearing for tomorrow for this item, and I'm just wondering where this leaves the CVRD in regards to that.
And I can answer that. I'm sorry, I just got your email before the start of the meeting, but our legislated engagement with the RDN on this issue is a separate process. So although the public hearing can continue to move forward, we do have a separate government to government process that's outlined in legislation. I don't know if staff can speak to it. I would encourage anyone who has input as citizens, you can provide input to a public hearing, but I think I'd have to go to staff on procedurally what best practice would be when they have their public hearing tomorrow. And
I'd like to refer to Ms. Gerald if she's able to answer that question.
Ms. Charles?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if any of the comments would be the subject of the public hearing that's to be held, those comments would not be considered by the RDN board following the close of the public hearing. So any comments that are made on the RGS, can be accepted obviously by the RDN board. But if there are comments that are made in regards to the proposed other bylaw amendments, then the board won't receive those. It would jeopardize their statutory process for amending the OCP and zoning bylaws.
So the last opportunity then for residents that are affected or concerned members of the communities would be the public hearing tomorrow.
That's correct.
But that's separate from the RGS government to government process.
Absolutely.
So we still have the negotiated process between the two regional districts on the RGS, and that clock started a couple of weeks ago, but it goes for 60 days. And I am going to follow up with staff tomorrow, but I was going to reach out to the RDN chair, Chair Brown as well, and maybe just have a discussion, but I want that to be informed by staff before and supported by staff before I do that, about how the next couple of months or 6 weeks or so can unfold between the regional districts in terms of the RGS itself. But if you have feedback or community members that wish to give feedback on the public hearing, tomorrow is the last opportunity around the rezoning part of it.
That's my understanding. And our intent was for staff to come to the next regional services meeting with information about the general RGS process for information.
Thank you. Does that answer the question, Director Smith?
Yes, that does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I apologize to the board members again for my delays here. I seem to speed up and slow down. Hopefully you can all hear me. So with that being dealt with, do we have a motion to move forward on number 3? Okay, moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. All those in favor? Sorry, Director Salmon, we're kind of broken up a little bit here, but
Great.
I think Director McGonigal has something he needs
I
to say.
do. As a director of the Cowichan Lake Elder Care Society, I must declare conflict on number 5. And if you could remove me from this discussion, I would appreciate that.
Ms. Legault. All right, thank you. Back to you, Director Salmon, on number 5.
Thank you. So number 5, any discussion? No.
I think we need to
move that.
move in second. Yeah.
Move in second.
Moved by Director
Smith, second Director Marsh. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very
That is my
much.
report, Mr. Stone.
Thank you, Director.
Chair Stone.
Thank you, Director Salmon. And I apologize because I think I'm being delayed, so I end up speaking over people when I think there's a gap. But I believe that moves us, Ms. Legault, to CR3.
Mr. Chair, can we Director McGonigal back in the room?
I guess we have to.
Yes, he's been brought into the meeting. He just didn't have his video on.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Al was looking out for you, Tim. Ms. Legault.
Are you
Item
really being
CR
honest, Tim?
Item CR3 is the report and recommendations of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of April 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move as a block 1 through 4. I move
Thank you.
those.
And that's seconded by Director Kuhn. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Director Yanni DiNardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is electoral area directors only, 5 through 20. And I move them as a block unless somebody wants something pulled.
Is that seconded by Director Smith? Thank you. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
That is my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Yanni DiNardo. So I believe that takes us to staff reports. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item SR1, report from Legislative Services on board meeting location, and the staff recommendation is that board meetings be held in the boardroom at the Canada Avenue office located at 201-55 Canada Avenue, effective April 14th, 2021, and until such time as the boardroom at 175 Ingram Street is available for use.
Thank you. Moved by Director Marsh, seconded by Director Staples. Any discussion? I know this is virtual, but we still have to, as our procedure, I think this may have been explained in an email, but we do have to relocate our virtual meetings. So seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to public hearings, PH1. The recommendation is that the public hearing minutes and exhibits for CVRD bylaw 4365, South Cowichan zoning amendment bylaw 3541 Cobble Hill Road 2021 be received.
Moved by Director Wilson, seconded by Director Smith. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
PH2, that public hearing minutes and exhibits regarding CVRD bylaw 4366, electoral area D, Cowichan Bay Upland zoning amendment bylaw for 4715 Trans-Canada Highway 2021 be received.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Morrison. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Item PH3. Sorry. Public hearing minutes regarding CVRD bylaw 4370, electoral area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls official community plan amendment bylaw, lot 10, Cowichan Valley Highway 2021, and CVRD bylaw 4371, electoral area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls zoning amendment bylaw, lot 10, Cowichan Valley Highway 2021 be received.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director McGonigal. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you. On to bylaws. Item B1, CVRD bylaw 4231, water systems regulatory and management bylaw 2021 for first, second, and third readings.
Moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CVRD bylaw 4231, water systems regulatory and management bylaw 2021 for adoption.
Moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Item BEA1, CVRD bylaw 4365, South Cowichan zoning amendment bylaw 3541 Cobble Hill Road 2021 for third reading.
Moved by Director Wilson, seconded by Director Smith. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, sorry, Director Nicholson.
I'd just like to say that I missed the public hearing, unfortunately, but I went through the notes for this, and that I thought it was very interesting. The community seems somewhat divided on this, and I acknowledge that, but I also think that it would be, the future looks like it's going this way, and I think it's difficult to stop the clock at this point.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, selectoral area directors only, and opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CVRD bylaw 4365, South Cowichan zoning amendment bylaw 3541 Cobble Hill Road 2021 for adoption.
Moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Acton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CVRD bylaw 4366, this is item BEA2, electoral area D, Cowichan Bay Upland zoning amendment bylaw 4715 Trans-Canada Highway 2021 for third reading.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Morrison. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Item BEA3, CVRD bylaw 4370, electoral area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls official community plan amendment bylaw for lot 10, Cowichan Valley Highway 2021 be granted third reading.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Kuhn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
BEA4, CVRD bylaw 4371, electoral area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls zoning amendment bylaw, lot 10, Cowichan Valley Highway 2021 for third reading.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Smith. All those in favor? And opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
BEA5, CVRD bylaw 4378, electoral area B, Shawnigan Lake zoning amendment bylaw for PID 003858464 2021 for first and second readings.
Moved by Director Acton, seconded by Director Smith. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's no business items further, so it would be just the recess before question period.
Thank you. We'll take a 10-minute recess and be back at 7:18. Thank you all very much.
The meeting's live.
Thank you. We are back for question period. Ms. Legault, who have we got this evening for question period?
We have not received any requests to participate this evening.
Okay, I just wanted to make a quick statement. Ms. Kaufman, if you're watching out there, I remembered this morning that I had to follow up with you on something. So please note, if you're watching this video, I will be following up with you shortly. Thank you very much. If we've got no questions, then I believe Ms. Legault, we're just looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Director Sebring, seconded by Director Martman. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for your patience this evening, and